Welcome to Secretly Sporty. I am your host, Sebastian Langdell, and I'm joined by my producer and co-creator, Austin Rackless. Hey, Austin.
Hey, Sebastian. How's it going?
It's good. We like to start, as we do with our guests, by talking about most recent workouts. What was it for you?
Last night I did play tennis with my husband for about an hour and a half.
Nice.
How about you? What'd you do?
I went to the gym yesterday, and I just had about 45 minutes. So I'd say I spent about 35 of those on the treadmill running. And then I went downstairs and I did some pull-ups and a few other exercises.
Nice. Good. Got that pull-ups in. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a flex.
I feel like the thing about pull-ups, it's like that kind of thing, like if you don't use it, you lose it. And with pull-ups in particular, that seems to be the case, where if you get into the rhythm of doing them, you got to do them every week or you'll just kind of atrophy.
I don't think I've ever done one. Maybe I'll set that as a goal.
Yeah, definitely. It's fun to be able to do them. For today's episode, our guest, Alison Bechdel, is someone who we both just greatly admire and who was really one of the first people on our minds when we started the idea for this podcast and when we started talking about it in the earliest days, when we got this concept in mind of like, let's interview creatives, let's interview artists and authors and musicians and filmmakers about their fitness routines and about what they do to keep themselves healthy and strong so that they can make their best art.
Totally. She epitomizes it. Obviously I knew her work from Fun Home and Are You My Mother? And then she wrote the book, The Secret to Superhuman Strength, which traces her history with exercise throughout her entire life, starting when she was a child. And before reading that book, I had no idea how incredibly fit she is or just how many different athletic activities she's participated in.
That book, I might be an outlier, but that is my favorite of her books, The Secret to Superhuman Strength. Also, I think what is tremendous about her work is her ability to be vulnerable. That was also kind of the starting point of the show for us, is thinking through some more traumatic moments in our own lives and how exercise was there for us when we were kind of rebuilding ourselves in several different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember reading your New York Times article about your experience of working through some grief through the gym and how that resonated for me, of working through some severe health issues that I'd had over the past couple of years through tennis. I think that concept resonated with a lot of people who read that article. I don't think I was alone.
I mean, it's some difficult stuff to talk about, but it's the kind of stuff that once you start talking about and you start sharing stories with others, then it feels all the more worthwhile to talk about.
100% agree. And I think Alison really models that in this interview. I can also just say, we've been talking about this podcast for a while, and it feels kind of surreal that it's going to be out in the world, but I'm so excited.
I'm stoked. So without further ado, here is Alison Bechdel. Thank you for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to have you with us.
It is my great honor.
We'd like to begin by asking about your most recent workout. What did you do and how'd it go?
My last workout was yesterday, and I was coming off of having a cold and just being really not doing anything for over a week. And I rode my bike to the gym. I went out for a 4-mile run on a route that I love that's up a gradual hill, so it's kind of a grind. And then I came back to the gym and I lifted weights. I did the same weight routine I have been doing, I think, for probably 20 years now.
Oh, can I ask what that weight routine is?
Is this the kind of show where we can really say those things?
Totally.
In polite company, I wouldn't go into all this, but I guess people might really be interested.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I know you shouldn't do the same workout over and over again because your muscles, you get used to a thing and then it's no longer a challenge and you're not, cross training or whatever you're supposed to be doing. But I love this workout and it's quick and it's hard and I just keep doing it. Start with push-ups, 20 push-ups. I'm pretty proud of my push-ups, I must say. For a 65-year-old lady, I can bang out 20 really good, full range, straight back push-ups. Then I do squats. I love squats too. That's possibly my favorite movement. Do 3 sets of 10 squats. Then what do? Then I do some like ab things hanging from these straps that I kind
Hmm.
of saw someone else doing and copied one day. Then I do the really hard thing, which is not pull-ups because I am no longer able to do a pull-up, but negative pull-ups where I
Mm.
jump up to the bar and let myself down, and then you work the same muscles as you would doing a positive pull-up, but you can build up to it gradually. And I'm hoping I'm not too old and frail to get back to being able to do at least one pull up from a dead hang. That's my current goal. I used to be able to do pull ups, but then I don't know. I put on, if you gain 1 pound, it throws everything off. If you don't do it for a while, you just lose so much strength. So I kind of had given up, but now I'm finding that I'm actually able to get stronger as I do these negatives.
That's great.
Then I do more ab things like on a rack, like leg lifts.
Mhm.
Then I do barbell presses for my chest and some biceps curls and some more ab things, and I'm done.
And so this is a workout that you do every day, or how many times a week
No,
usually?
not every day. I aim to do it twice a week.
What would your ideal week be for, like, if you could kind of set up an ideal week for exercise these days?
Well, my goal is to run 3 times and do the weights twice. But I've
Mm.
rarely managed to get all those workouts in. Sometimes I
Yeah.
can, and that feels great. And then I start to feel very fit.
Is there an exercise from your past that you kind of most miss doing other than pull-ups?
You know what I miss? I miss long, arduous bike rides,
Mm.
which I just don't have the time or the energy, honestly, to do anymore. In my 30s, I loved nothing more than to go out on like an all day 60, 70, 80 mile ride over a over a mountain pass. And it was just so mind altering, such an amazing feeling. But I don't have that kind of time. And it's so different now. Everyone on the road is texting or they're stoned, and my own like reaction times are so much slower than they used to be. It just doesn't feel safe at all.
That's fair. Your 3 runs a week, what do they look like? Do you go a certain mileage, or do you just kind of go out and see how you're feeling that day?
I try to do 2 4 mile runs and one 6 mile run. And that has
Mm.
scaled back. I used to try to do like an 8 mile run on Sunday, like my long run day, but
Hmm.
I can't do that anymore. I still run, but it's hard to go long distances. And also I don't have time. It takes so long, especially because I move slower and slower now. I've stopped even recording my time on my runs because it just gets slower and slower. And that's sort of demoralizing. So why keep track of it?
There's just this passing moment in Superhuman Strength when you remark on your, lifelong interest in inline skating, rollerblading. But is that something that stuck with you for some time, rollerblading?
Yeah, I loved skating. Have you done it?
I used to rollerblade to school every day in the California suburbs when I was in, I guess it would have been middle school. And I just felt like the king of the world.
Oh man, that sounds amazing. I think I started doing it when I moved to Vermont. I loved the movement of it. It's almost like cross country skiing. It's like the feeling I get when I finally got my kick and glide coordinated in the snow. I just loved it. But again, I got too scared after a while. I did it for maybe 10 years and I realized I could so easily break my wrist and not be able to write or draw. That's what happens as you get older. One thing after another gets put on the shelf. My whole theme today is going to be like, I'm very old and I'm lucky to be moving at all.
The Secret to Superhuman Strength is one of my favorite books ever. I just reread it, and I'm so taken by the fact that as soon as you utter the word exercise, You are thinking about the romantics and the transcendentalists, and you're also thinking about kind of a history of relationships moving through the
Yeah.
decades of your life. Can you speak a little bit to how that kind of tripartite intertwine came together, exercise, relationships, and then these literary forebears?
Exercise has always been something really important to me, and I wanted to figure out why. I wanted to like kind of dig into it. And it's about strength. I want to be strong and fit, but it's also about transcendence. It's also about this, feeling of getting outside of yourself. That's always what has been so addictive to me about it. Like just shutting my yammering mind down for at least half an hour while I do something else. Whenever I write about myself, I also try to connect it to something outside of myself. And
Mm.
the sort of way into this story was actually not, it wasn't the transcendentalists and the romantics at first. It was Jack Kerouac
Hmm.
in his book, The Dharma Bums, which I read when I was like 30 and found very moving. The way he described climbing up a mountain in the Sierras with his friend, the poet Gary Snyder in 1950. And it was just, he just captured that, that inebriated feeling of doing some prolonged form of exertion with a friend. Like he and
Mm.
Gary just climbed this mountain for 2 days and just talked and rambled and meditated together. And it just, I found it incredibly moving.
I love how you create these kind of trans-historical literary communities in your works. And it feels like, yeah, those are the members that you invited in for this particular work, were Kerouac and people like Margaret Fuller, Emerson, Coleridge, the Wordsworths. It seems like partly what you're drawing attention to is that these folks were exercise pioneers in a way, but that was a secret to us because they're known primarily for their works, right? But they were secretly sporty. They were climbing these mountains at a time when that just wasn't really done.
I know. That's what's so cool.
And I think that element of transcendence is clearly something that ties them together. Kerouac and these 19th century writers. But it also seems like their need to kind of handle the damaging energies of addiction, for one thing, addiction to opiates or alcohol, their need to kind of get outside, have a change of pace, was also a driving factor in this kind of like pioneering exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I liked finding parallels to my own life in all of these different people. For me, it was always on a smaller scale than their big struggles. But I could see, I feel like I could understand, you know, when Coleridge was out hiking on doing these long rambles in the hills, he didn't need opium.
Mm.
Kerouac fantasized about getting off the booze when he climbed that mountain with Gary. So I would just see myself in these people and their struggles. And also, yeah, the book ends up being about relationships. And they all had like kind of messed up relationships to a person, which I also identified with.
Is there something you're working on right now, a new project or something that you're kind of in the early stages of envisioning?
I'm really not. I had a book that came out earlier this year, and normally I would be like hard at work on the next project, but I've taken a teaching job and I'm teaching. Last fall and this fall, I have taught college students how to make comics. So that's kind of where my energy has been. It's so, man, I don't know how you people do it. It is so much work. But you always wanted to be a teacher, right?
My mom, who's actually a Adrian Rich scholar,
Oh, wow.
she's a professor, and when I was growing up, I'd like help grade her papers and things like that and come to class with her. I remember going to an Emily
Oh
Dickinson
my God.
conference with her in, where was it, Norway, when I was probably about 11 or 12. So I kind of grew up in that
Wow.
environment. At first, I felt like I wanted to kind of chart my own course and do something different. And then I went to a creative writing master's program at UT Austin that did have a teaching component. And so I, did it because I was meant to. And then I found that I really loved it.
Yeah.
Just thinking through the process of these 4 books, Fun Home, Are You My Mother, Superhuman Strength, and Spent. But with Spent, we kind of go in a more, I guess the phrase would be auto-fictional direction. It's a novel rather
Yeah.
than a memoir.
Right.
I'm just curious about your decision to write in a more kind of fictional mode.
That happened by accident. This most recent book, Spent, was originally conceived of as another memoir. I
Mm.
was going to write about capitalism and trying to figure out some kind of way to manage to live in a remotely ethical way, and given all the just how screwed up everything is. I realized, oh my God, I'm going to have to like learn economics. I'm going to have to read Marx. When I thought about really engaging with this financial thing, I didn't want to do it. It seemed totally boring. In the same moment that I let go of that idea, this new idea came into my head, which is, oh, you know what would be good is if I write a book about a cartoonist named Alison Bechdel who's trying to write that memoir and failing. So that's what I did,
Mm.
and that was much more liberating.
Was the exercise routine that you were kind of pursuing while writing that book quite similar to your routine these days? The mixture of weights and running?
Well, that book happened after the pandemic when we couldn't go to the gym. My partner and I invested in all the equipment. We like made our own gym in this very like antisocial pro-capitalist way. We created our own little private gym, but I liked it. It was fun to be able to just work out whenever I wanted, and none of that's in the book. I rarely write about my exercise life, which is actually a huge part of my life, except for in the Secret to Superhuman Strength. It just somehow it's like there's no need to write about it. It's perfect. It's fine. In a way, I worried when I undertook the Secret to Superhuman Strength that I was going to ruin this one part of my life that I didn't have any conflicts, or anxieties about.
What is it that happens when you put so much focus on something that's important in your life?
I mean, for me, exercise is a shortcut to the feeling that I get when I'm really immersed in a creative project.
Mm.
That always feels so hard to get to, that point when you're really finally settling down to something and focused on it and just living in it, living in whatever it is you're making. When you go for a run or a bike ride, you can you can get there much more easily. It's not the same depth of transcendence, but it's a little mini. In both cases, it's letting go of your self-awareness, turning
Mm.
yourself over to this other thing that you're writing, or when you're working out, it's just getting out of your head. But it's much easier to just go for a run than it is to write a book.
It sounds like you might be interested in pursuing more in the kind of auto-fictional space in the future.
Yeah, I would actually like to do a sequel to Spent, to
Oh,
my
yeah.
most recent book, and just keep that whole world going and continue commenting on this insane historical moment we're all living through.
It's not
Uh,
over yet, so
no,
yeah.
it's
Can you think of a time like an especially euphoric fitness memory?
Can I name a period of time as opposed to just a moment?
Sure. Yeah.
The summer of 1992 was a euphoric period for me because I had just moved to Vermont. I'd gotten out of a bad relationship. I was like pretty much alone, living in a little house in the country, and I had just gotten a nice bike, and I started biking in Vermont, which was all hills. And I just got addicted to these climbs, and I would go out riding longer and longer. This for this period of this summer of 1992, I was kind of just in a state of euphoria, going on longer and longer rides. I loved going over the mountains. I loved going long distances. And finally, at the end of that summer, I did a century. I did my first 100-mile bike ride, and that was just felt amazing. Like you just completely get so wiped out
Yeah.
that there's nothing left but euphoria.
So what were you working on that summer creatively?
I was in the middle of my comic strip. For many years before I started writing these memoirs, I wrote a comic strip called Dykes to Watch Out For, this rather unlikely thing that I actually made a living at, writing a serialized comic strip about a bunch of lesbian friends.
Yeah.
And it involved this very disciplined schedule. I had to turn out a story every 2 weeks.
If you were to go back and read the comics that you made from that year, do you think you would notice the euphoria kind of infusing the work?
That is a very interesting question. I don't know that you would, because I don't know, my work has always also been kind of um, hard. Like I find creativity hard. I I I do have moments of euphoria when I'm working, but it takes so much grinding and effort and willpower to get there, and self-doubt, like
Yeah.
I just I have a very fraught relationship with my own creativity. And in a way, the exercise is like a way to console myself. So I don't think you would see it in that work, but I always have felt that my my athletic exertions have trained and prepared me for my creative exertions. That the kind of work I do it's not just sitting at a typewriter, it's pretty physical. Cartooning is a very embodied form of writing. Like you have to use your whole body. If I'm not, you know, manipulating my pen, I'm jumping up to pose for a sketch. And it's just all very active and demanding as you try to put together a long book. Or even in those days, I was just trying to finish a 10-panel comic strip. So being fit helped.
I was taken by in Superhuman Strength when you kind of depicted you and Holly working on the final stages of the book during the pandemic in a kind of medieval scriptorium
Yes.
way, because I work on medieval writers quite a lot, and there's one in particular that I work on who writes about that process, and this is 600 years ago. He's writing about, people think that writers don't do any real work, but we're just like those construction workers outside, hammering away,
Wow.
he says, stooping over the sheepskin, creates aches in the eyes and the back and, your hand. And you have to unite all of these energies, and it is a physical activity. And I think even more so for you, who's working not only in words, but also in pictures.
Oh, I love that. Who was that?
Oh, his name is Thomas Hockleave. Yeah, and that's in a poem called Regiment of Princes. And on the Hockleave Society website, there's modern English translations of that section. I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, that would be cool. And yeah, I often feel like my work hasn't changed from what monks were doing 1,000 years ago.
Is there, and there may be quite a few things come to mind, but I'm just kind of wondering if there's one particular period in life that comes to mind if I ask about when exercise has helped you through an especially difficult period.
Wow, there's a whole list of them. Like starting to run as a teenager helped me through adolescence.
Mm.
Learning a martial art in my early 20s got me to finish growing up in a way that I hadn't in college. Um, but maybe the most clearly life-saving instance is discovering the 7-minute workout.
Yeah.
That workout was published in the New York Times like the day before my mother died.
Mm.
And I happened to read it, and it coincided with this incredibly pressured, intense time of my life because suddenly I was like managing my mother's estate and taking on new responsibilities with my family while I was still like, my own career was going like full tilt. And there was just no time to do any of the time consuming exercises that I like.
Yeah.
No time to go on a bike ride or a long ski. So I would do these 7-minute workouts, but I would do them religiously. I would do that thing religiously every day for several years, and I could do it anywhere.
Mm.
I was traveling constantly at that time of my life, and so it was like this one lovely constant that I had. And I would do it first thing in the morning. As soon as I got out of bed, I would put on my sports bra because I knew once I got that thing on, which is its whole own like athletic feat, there was no going back. Like then I had to do the workout.
Can you give a brief rundown of what the 7-minute workout consists of, or your favorite exercises from it for people who don't know?
I don't even remember. It's all very aerobic. The whole point is to do these things at your maximum speed and capacity. So you really get sweaty and tired, even though it's so short. I think the one thing that was most transformative for me was step up on chair.
Yeah.
And you just get a chair and you step up over and over. But it really builds your quads. It's a very effective exercise.
Yeah, there's wall sitting from what I remember. There's kind of like
Oh, right.
planks and side planks and holding the side plank for a certain amount of
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah, it supposedly like works your whole body.
it's funny because what I associate with the 7-minute workout is the summer that Superhuman Strength came out, reading about it and then looking it up on YouTube. And there was a little video, and we were traveling around the East Coast as we usually do in the summer. And yeah, again, I didn't have much workout equipment, so I just started integrating it into my everyday life because of you.
That's wild.
I'm curious, you were talking about kind of worrying that writing about exercise might ruin it for you. Was there a sense in which there was like an exercise that you either gravitated towards afterwards or that you didn't write about as much in the book that kind of felt like new territory, like something you hadn't shared and therefore were able to kind of move out of the old and into the new? You don't write about weights much in the book.
I don't. I mean, it's boring. What is there to say about curling a barbell?
I guess what makes it interesting is the kind of emotional aspect, right? Or the fact of like the incremental changes that allow you to do a pull-up, for instance, like, gathering a little strength every day, and then the incremental changes that make it harder at times. I think that's quite interesting, just because change sometimes happens at this kind of glacial rate, but it's not as if it's not significant just because it's glacial.
Yeah, at one point, my title for The Secret to Superhuman Strength, which was taking me forever to write, was going to be How I Got Six-Pack Abs in 60 Years. Because I realized that really it has taken me like 60 years to have any kind of grasp of any of this stuff. Any kind of change is necessarily glacial, and to expect otherwise is insane.
We have a lightning round for you.
Okay.
Cardio or strength training?
I would have to pick cardio because otherwise I would go mad. I mean, if that's my mental health regimen.
Protein shake or protein bar?
I would say bar, but again, I'm so old now and my metabolism is so slow that I don't need to eat stuff the way I used to. I'm like a banked stove and I'm just burning very efficiently.
Cottage cheese or Greek yogurt?
Greek yogurt. I am proud to say I have never eaten cottage cheese in my life. I find it just incredibly repulsive substance.
Do you like to write first or work out first?
Oh, definitely write. I can only really focus and concentrate well in the morning, so that's what I do. And then I love working out later.
Sauna or cold plunge?
Sauna.
Yeah. My last one is, would you rather meet your artistic hero or your athletic hero?
I think I would choose the athletic hero because that would be less painful to be disillusioned by them than it would be to meet my artistic hero. My athletic hero these days is that climber, Alex Honnold. I've watched his movie Free Solo like literally 20 times, and
It's an
I
amazing
just
movie.
it's a great movie, and I just find him a curious character. But I think if I met him and he turned out to be a jerk, it would be fine. I'd recover from that.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, you are genuinely my artistic and athletic hero, and it's been such a pleasure talking with you. So thank you so much for spending this time with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Sebastian, it was really fun to get to like nerd out on all this stuff. No one else around me is interested, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. On our next episode, we talk to author, comedian, and podcast host Chris Duffy about swimming, humor, and why he couldn't care less about living to 100. We hope you'll join us. Secretly Sporty was created and is produced by Sebastian Langdell and Austin Rackless. It's hosted by me, Sebastian Langdell, edited by Austin Rackless and Andy Redinger. Our music is composed by Catherine Joy, cover art by Ben Wiseman, represented by Illustration Division Inc. This outro song you're listening to right now is Lantern and Whalebone by the National Lights. Our executive producers are Austin Rackless and Jason Wojciechowski. Special thanks to Liam Billingham. Please note that we are not medical professionals nor personal trainers. Not all exercises are suitable for everyone. Always consult a doctor before starting any new exercise routine or nutritional program. The views expressed in this show are those of the show's creators or the guests, and not those of any other entity or institution.